We've covered Bayern Munich and PSG. Let's turn our attention to Manchester City, Dortmund, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Porto, and Chelsea. Shaka and Craig still with us. We welcome Nedum Onuoha and Darke to the show. Let's start with Manchester City, Dortmund. Nedum, your former club, obviously heavy favorites against Dortmund. Do you have any doubts that they'll be able to get the job done over two legs?
Well, obviously they're going to be favourites, but, you know, it's the Champions League quarter-final. Whichever game you have here is going to be a tough match, but I think City overall will be happy to be drawn against a team who domestically are struggling just that little bit. So, you know, City, as I say, they're one of the best teams in Europe at this moment in time, so they probably didn't fear anybody, but as far as the draw goes, you would argue it's favourable. But the big tie, should they manage to get through the quarter-final, awaits for them in the semi-final, in my opinion.
Ian, interesting matchup here. For no other reason, we get a look at Haaland against potentially his future employer, but also Manchester City's history at this stage of the competition under Pep Guardiola. How relevant is that? How important is that ahead of these matches?
I think Pep Guardiola is still haunted by what happened last season against Lyon, where he showed them way too much respect and Manchester City went out. And it was another reminder that when you get to this stage of the competition, every team really that has got this far is pretty high quality. So you've got to get things right. But I'm with Nedum. I think Borussia Dortmund's style, which is usually quite expansive, they're not the kind of team to sit in. They'll go for it. I think there might be two great games, but I think Manchester City will probably have a bit too much firepower for them, and they've got easily the better defence, which might be crucial. So I see Manchester City going through. It will be interesting. Erling Haaland playing against the club who may be employing him in the summer, so plenty of subplots.
Nedum, you're in Manchester. I'm sure your City friends are telling you all how they feel about this match. Are there nerves, given the club's history in the quarterfinals under Pep?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you know, if you've never won the tournament before, you always enter this stage and you are just that little bit anxious. They've never made it to the final. They're concerned, can we do it? Can we get there? Can we get there? And at the moment, you look at the team, you look at the way they're playing, and you believe there's every chance that they can. But I think one thing to look back on in terms of the way that Pep was last year is that this time around, I think it's fair to say that in the last few months, people haven't levelled the criticism that maybe he's overthinking things. So if you go into these Champions League quarterfinals and maybe semi-finals and then he reverts to that, then I think it's a big shock. But I think a lot of the strength that they've had over the past few months has been through consistency. I think no matter who goes out to play for them, whichever game they play in, you kind of know what to expect. And hopefully for them, that's going to be the thing which will take them over the line to get to the next stage and then maybe get to a final, and then who knows what could happen from there.
Craig, what do you think? Any chances Ian says that Manchester City here haunted by their Champions League past?
Well, the Champions League past has been a side that hasn't defended particularly well, and that's been the downfall. The downfall against Lyon, the downfall against Liverpool in this competition. And so that's changed this year, certainly up to this point. Defensively, they've been brilliant and more pragmatic, but still entertaining. And this is a really good tie for them. I think for the reason that Ian mentioned is that Dortmund are really not a side that are set up, both in terms of the way they play and the personnel that they have, to try and sit in behind the ball like maybe a Porto would, or one or two others who are quite happy to do that. And so it makes for an entertaining game. And look, there's a reason that this Dortmund side are 16 points off the top of the Bundesliga. Because they haven't defended well and they haven't been consistent enough. And really and truly, if City were to go out over the two legs, it would be, bearing in mind Dortmund's season, it would be a big shock. Yeah, they've got some good players and obviously they've got one of the most talked about youngsters in world football. But City are the real deal, and if they've got their heads on, I really don't see Dortmund beating them over 180 minutes.
Interesting there that Craig mentions Erling Haaland. Shaka, how much damage do you think he can do to City?
A lot. He's one of those strikers that I think you have to have a game plan for. He's earned the praise that he's gotten. From all corners in football. And it's an interesting test for City, given how much credit we've given them, how much we've sang their own praises defensively, which we haven't been able to do for many a City team coming up to this season. And now this is their most significant test. And you want to see how Haaland does up against this defence. You want to see how this defence does up against Erling Haaland. The other question for me, and why this really is an intriguing tie, is you just wonder how much of City's past failings get into their head. And in previous seasons, despite how good City have been in the league and the records they've broken and rewritten, I just feel, especially in this competition, Pep Guardiola has tried to overthink the opponent. The one thing about Borussia Dortmund is you knew what they're going to do. They've not tried to disguise who they are, how they approach games for quite some time. So certainly this is one that you get your game plan right, you don't second guess. And I think finally, City get over this hurdle at least.
Nedum, we mentioned Erling Haaland, the potential of a move to Manchester City. Would that be the perfect fit in your eyes?
I'd like it, yeah. I'd like it, especially if Sergio Aguero is going to be leaving. But I think it's one of those things where Pep is only going to be recruiting people who fit into their system. And for now, it looks like Haaland would do just that. And if they do manage to get a striker like him in, then, you know, anything is possible for them. But the amount of money that's going to be involved, you know, it's going to be a test for absolutely anybody. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how he does against City. And even though the talk will be about, is this a dress rehearsal for what's to come in the future? I think Haaland's going to have lots of options, and hopefully he chooses City if City do try and pursue him, because I think, as I say, he could help get the club to that next level again.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.